which is a guilt. Guilt is like a sister of fear. When we have a fear unconsciously, we will have guilt as well, and we will live life with guilties, a series of guilty, and we will actually have a habit to blame ourselves. Guilty means you are blaming yourself for something which you may have done or which you may not have done, or you have done consciously or you done unconsciously, but you are blaming yourself. And that is a very poor mindset. And that some people think, at least I'm very humble, I'm admitting my mistake. No, it was not your mistake. You think that it was your mistake, and you think it was your mistake because you have a guilty feeling, and that's your problem. You are not trying to understand the thing what was happening around you or you have done yourself. So that's why uh, the guilt is very important, and we want to learn what actually guilt is. And before I go into what is guilt is, I want to tell you some examples of guilt. And some examples of guilt are um, yeah, so we think that we ought to be do better. Oh, I should have done it better. That's a sign of guilty. We should be getting better goal score or cricket score or earn more money. We should be reading a book instead of watching a television. So that's a guilty. Why I'm watching this program? I should have done something else. That's a sign of guilty. We should make love better. We should be a better partner, and instead of sharing our bad things, we should do the nice thing. I should have cooked better. I should run have faster better. I should grow taller. Why I'm small? Why I should not? I'm not very stronger. So why I should have been more smarter, or I should have more education, or blah blah. So these are the things which are every day we are doing. Yeah, it means that we are not confident what we have done, and that's lack of confidence is due to our lack is is a high fear we have in unconsciously about certain things. And that's I'm trying to say that these are very small things, but these make our low confidence every day and every moment. Um, so that's why it's very important topic for ourselves, how and when to correct ourselves. So uh, I will read this paragraph, and then after that, you guys will help me to read it out. So, one particular form of fear is what we call guilt. Guilt is always associated with a feeling of wrongness and potential punishment, either real or in fantasy. If punishment is not forthcoming in the external world, it expresses itself as a self punishment on an emotional level. So that's how we do, and it's very clear. It should be very clear for you that what the guilt means is actually. So guilt accompanies all of the negative emotions, and thus where there is a fear, there is a guilt. If you think a guilty thought and have somebody test your muscle strength, if you will see that the muscle instantly goes weak, your cerebral hemisphere has become dysynchronized, and all of your energy meridians are thrown out of your balance. Nature therefore says that guilt is destructive. So, in this paragraph, the author in the book Letting Go, David Hawkins, is saying uh, where there is a fear, there is a guilt, and why guilt is so destructive, because it it made your desynchronized with your thoughts and your energy which you are trying to balance in your life, and it happens all the time. So let's try to learn it more, so that we can have a better understanding about this. So I would ask Jenny, if you can read it, please. Is the guilt as a beneficial thing? Some people think that the guilt can be beneficial. Let's see.
If guilt is so destructive, then why are there such paeans of praise allotted to it? Why do so called experts view guilt as beneficial? For example, a psychiatrist wrote a magazine article in praise of guilt, declaring, "Guilt is good for you." He then qualified the statement with appropriate guilt. Let's look at what guilt is really all about and see if we agree or not.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. When you cross the street, you look both ways to see if a car is coming. How did this come about? When you were a child, you were told that it was bad to cross the street. Thus, we see that guilt is really a substitute for a sense of reality in a mind that is undeveloped, such as that of a child. It is a learned behavior which is purportedly pragmatic to prevent further error or the repetition of a mistake. 99% of guilt has nothing whatsoever to do with reality. In fact, the most pious, meek, and harmless individuals are often riddled with guilt. Guilt is really self-condemnation and self-invalidation of our worth and value as a human being.
Yeah. So it's a great thing. I have put some of the highlights things, so you can also note as a quotation or as a key things which you can take away in the session. So these are the valuable things for you. So it's very explanatory things that the because of the guilt we are condemning ourselves all the time, and that shows our low self-worth, low self-esteem, our self-invalidation, and maybe because we don't admit that the mistake can be happen through any human can do. We all do mistakes, but mistake cannot be replaced as a guilty or have tried to make a guilty thought, or when we are dealing with our children. And if there is something, if my child is suffer, then I try to guilt myself even if it was not your fault. That's absolutely because you have a fear associate or series of fear associated with your child. That's why you are condemning yourself as a tonic, that oh, if I will think like this, then maybe my it may be little bit compensate that why my child was suffered due to this. For example, if I am a poor dad and my child um, is have some disease, and I cannot afford that his disease can be healed or be treated in private hospital. So I will start to give, oh, would I become a rich dad so that my child should not suffer? That's absolutely guilty. Now look, this very much thought, obviously many people think that it's a very natural thought. No, it's not natural. It has been inspired negatively from our society, possibly from our media and from our people around us, or where we nurtured ourselves that it was your duty or it was you to give all things for treatment for your child. No, child got some, like for example, my child got cancer and it requires millions of pounds, for example, for treatment, and I cannot pay it. I should not feel guilty for that. I should weigh the other ways to get efforts to get it treated, but that should not be guilty. My problem is because I have so many fears associated with this. That's why I will try to blame myself, yeah, to come out from the situation, and rather than, obviously it's not fault of anyone. Some many things comes as a natural disaster, as a natural things where you or society don't have control. For example, is a COVID-19. Are you have you done or are you spreading this COVID-19 in your town or your society? If somebody dies or your loved one is die, or have you a COVID-19 and you try to blame yourself, or you try to having a self condemnation type of thought in your mind? No, it's not me. So, but people, many people, they blame, oh, we have blamed ourselves. Oh, what? Because there is so much evil in the society. That's why COVID-19 has come. There is so much things in the society. That's why it has come. but that they are trying to indirectly feeling a guilty as a society person, as a citizen of that society. These are all nothing to do with the reality. Reality is something which we don't know, and that's why we are so much in pain many times for nothing, for nothing. So that's why it's being like David is saying 99% of guilt thoughts has nothing to do with our with reality. And because we don't have developed our mind to know the reality, therefore guilt is a very good thought or a mindset we have. Therefore, to scared from things is a very easy thing. Yeah. So that's why is not very important. Uh, so guilt is as prevalent as fear, and we feel guilty no matter what we are doing. A part of our mind says that we really ought to be doing something else, or whatever we are actually doing at the moment. So we ought to be doing better. We should be getting a better goal score. We should be reading a book instead of watching a TV. We should make our love better. We should cook better, run faster, grow taller, be stronger, be smarter, or be more educated. In between the fear of living and fear of dying is a guilt of the moment. We seek to escape it by remaining unaware of it through suppression, repression, projecting it onto other, or follow escapism. So that's how we are doing, and it's a thing. So I would ask Cynthia if you can start reading the next paragraph, please. And yeah.
Guilt understanding truly. Remaining unconscious of guilt, repression, however, does not solve it. The guilt re emerges in the form of self punishment and through accidents, misfortune, loss of jobs and relationships, physical disease and sickness, tiredness, exhaustion, and the multiple ways the ingenious mind figures out how to bring about the loss of pleasure, joy, and aliveness.
Absolutely. So these are the things. Uh, Guilty re-emerge into different forms as well, and you start to blame yourself in all things. If you got accident, oh, I should not go by car. I should have gone by train, or I should not go to outside to visit. That's why the accident could not happen. These type of silly thoughts start. But when we are thinking these are not silly, we our mind is going a rationalizing the logics behind, which is obviously is very on a superficial level, because your mind is not governed by some consciousness, some super consciousness. Therefore your fear or series of anxiety are creating these thoughts from your unconscious, and you even don't realize it, and that's is affecting the result and quality of your life. Yeah, please go continue reading, please.
Guilt represents death just as love represents life. Guilt is part of the smaller self and underlies our willingness to believe negative things about ourselves. The happiness and joy of the day is instantly destroyed by one negative remark from a family member, friend, or neighbor. Physical disease is unlikely to exist out guilt, and guilt is a denial of our inner intrinsic innocence.
That's a great reading, and it's a combination of many things. I will not go to read details in thing, but one thing I would like to comment on this, that the happiness and joy of the day
Yeah.
is immediately destroyed by the remarks of the negative comment from anyone from you. And because the negative remark does not have reality, but you have allowed someone to give a negative remark about your low self-worth, about which actually is not, that tries to make you guilty. Oh yes, he or she was right. uh, yeah, actually, and will involve you in a negative feeling for nothing. And that's why how other people give input with the negative thought, like Jenny earlier mentioned about the partner, when they give you, your spouse, a sense that you are worthless, you are, even they use the word, oh, you are stupid, or you are silly, you are blah blah. And then obviously a time come when the spouse or partner feel that yes, she or he was a guilty on that time, and due to her or him it happened, and our current quality of our relationship is due to, because I'm a guilty person, or blah blah blah. So you see how it covers the things. If you are not very well strong by mind, and you will start to having a guilty from other people's comment, and that's a very very destroying thing. So yes, if Zara, if you can read it, we have couple of slides left. I think three, 4 slides. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do we buy into so much garbage? Is it not because of our very innocence? Is it not because as we grew up, we trusted that what others were telling us was the truth? And even currently, do we still what others are telling us is the truth? Do we still think, I think, what others are telling us is the truth? Is it not so that we have bought into 10,000 lies and are willing to buy another 10,000 out of the navate of our inner innocence? Is not that inner innocence the very reason for our exploitability? In fact, when we look deep in within ourselves, is it not because of our very innocence that that we believe ourselves to be guilty?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. uh, do you see that the reason behind why we feel guilty, obviously we understand it is because of our fears, or that type of pattern we develop unconsciously throughout our previous life. That's fine. But if you want to have a solution, and what was the reason actually you feel you did this thing wrong, or you actually because you were innocent, that is a bottom line of today's topic. Human mind, or a human being itself, is is an innocent being. Lot of knowledge or things which we don't know, and because of that of ignorance, or that of lack knowledge of information, we do some mistake, or we come across in certain situation, and later when we know about this thing we start to feel guilty. That is a very wrong attitude. We should know that we were innocent on that time, and innocent nothing to do feeling nothing to do with feeling guilty, or being in a guilt uh, person. So that's why, obviously our main problem is ignorance, and this ignorance I'm telling you not in a negative way. This ignorance I'm telling you in a positive way, where we don't know anything, and that's why that my child suffer, that why my wife or my husband suffered because of this. If it was because of my ignorance, that should not be blame. I should not be self-condemn myself. It was just natural because I didn't know, and I should be more confident to avoid the similar situation in future. And let's go to the move forward. It's very simple. So we need to believe on our inner self, and every human is inner self. And the people who make do mistake, and actually they feel more guilty, in reality they are more inner innocent, from inner side, but they don't know. They think they are supposed to be guilty, and it is my bigger mistake, and they try to justify making a rationalize with self, or making other people to justify that, oh yes it is because of me, because I didn't know. And then obviously that become a tag on your person for whole life, that you did the mistake and you admit this mistake and blah blah blah. Be very confident about yourself, and be very very straightforward. Should have a very obvious clarity about it. This thing was happened because of you, by knowing you, with your knowledge or without your knowledge, while you were enough educated about this thing or not. And then go ahead. that's very it should be very easy. Yeah, please continue. We have couple of page, and then we will finish this topic. Yeah.
It is because of our own inner innocence that we have bought into all the negativity of the world and allowed it to kill our aliveness, destroy our awareness of who we really are, and sell us pathetic little smallness for which we have settled. Is not ours the innocence of the newborn that cannot defend itself and, with no capacity for discernment, could only allow itself to be programmed like a computer? To see this means to become conscious. We hear of consciousness raising programs and weekend seminars to expand our consciousness. What does this mean? To get some new complicated formulas to get programmed with somebody else's idea of mystical truth.
Yeah. So here, David is trying to educate us that we need to expand the spectrum of our conscious, and we need to be self-aware about the surroundings, so that if something happened, we know that why this happened, and we can give the really true meaning, not the temporary definition of the situation and start to blaming myself. But we really know what happens. And for example, if my child is have some behavior issue, and I'm start to blaming myself that I'm responsible for my child because of his or her behavior. But if I'm a very spiritually consciously expanded person, then my reason why my child is like this will have a different my understanding. And there I will maybe no blaming, obviously, or if there was some missing things, I will get to know and will correct it to make my child behavior absolutely appropriate and normal. So that's how. But expansion of our consciousness is so important. And expansion of our conscious, you can get trained, you can buy some books, some training material, or maybe you can get in touch with your spiritual gurus or trainers, or these type of people. They can help you really. And uh, therefore, in many churches, the people who, when they do some mistake in their life, or if they have committed some crime, they go to the priest room in the church, and they declare that they have done wrong and they are guilty. What happens when actually the other person who is a spiritual master of that church, when they listen with the empathy of that person, then the vibes of the old innocence, then that person knows that he was a really innocent, and that give a sigh of great relief. And also, it happens when they start to take guidance from that priest in the church. And that same happened with other tradition, spiritual tradition as well. They shared the guilty, and whether it was a guilty or not, then they start to change the direction of their life. And then they do a lot of great things later in their life. Yeah, if Jenny, if you can start read the next paragraph, because I think we will take 5-10 minutes more.
Most of the consciousness programs boil down to this essential point: become aware of what we are buying into, what we are accepting daily. Let's look at what we have already been programmed with and begin to question it, dissemble it, and let it go. Let's wake up and free ourselves from being exploited and wake up enslaved by the negative programming of the world. We will see it for what it is, which is an attempt by others to control us, exploit us, extract our money, our services, our energy, our loyalties, and capture our mind. The mechanisms whereby this comes about were so beautifully exemplified in the movie Tron, in which the very function of master control was to enslave by progressive programming.
Hmm. Yeah. Has someone watched this movie, Tron?
I
I,
haven't seen it. Sounds good.
yeah. I will try to find this movie. And if somebody can share the link where this movie is, then maybe it will be help for us to see how we can learn more about this topic. Yeah, please continue for reading next para.
Okay. When we see the truth of how programming happens, we will see that innocent we are, the pure blank computer. We are the innocent space in which the programming is occurring. When we look at all of this, we are going to get angry. Anger is better than resignation, apathy, depression, and grief. It means to take charge of our mind instead of handing it to the television set, the newspaper, the magazines, the neighbors, the conversations in the subway, the chance remarks of the waitress, the garbage in and the garbage out. What went into our memory banks was garbage. And when we see this, we will have much less fear. We will enjoy starting to let the feelings come up, seeing them for what they are, clearing out all of the garbage and letting it all go.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's showing about the power of letting it go through different things. So basically, that book is a great book and tell you how you can resolve the problem for your life by letting it go in a proper method. So it's telling that's why I took these things from that book. I must recommend this reading from the letting go. Uh, please continue to read.
Okay. Once we have looked deep within ourselves and found that innate inner innocence, we will stop hating ourselves. We will stop condemning ourselves and stop buying into the condemnation of others and their subtle attempts to invalidate our worth as human beings. It's time to re-own our own power and stop giving it away to every passing scammer who jiggles our fears and shakes loose some money out of our pocketbook or enslaves us to their cause, living off of our energy. It's easy to get away from all that fear because we have the power of choice now.
Absolutely. Now the David is giving us power how to come out from this these fears and guilty feelings.
It's
Uh,
interesting, Maritib. Really nobody has power over us. Like they don't have the power to ruin our day. They don't have the power to really do any of that, I think, unless we allow it. So if someone comes up to me and says something negative or bad, it's I think my response to it and how I take that. Um, you know, it's not. I mean, it's really up to me of whether or not I let them ruin. I used to tell people no one has the power to ruin my day because they can't, not unless I give it to them.
absolutely right on the spot you are. Yeah. Yeah, Cynthia, if you can start reading next para, and there are 4 slides. Two you read, and then after Zara can read it. Yeah,
We fear that the inner voyage of discovery will lead us to some dreadful, awful truth. In its programming of our minds, this is one of the barriers that the world has set up to prevent us from finding out the truth. There is one thing the world does not want us to find out, and that is the truth about ourselves. Why? Because then we will become free. We can no longer be controlled, manipulated, exploited, drained, enslaved, imprisoned, vilified or disempowered. Therefore, the inner voyage of discovery is cloaked over with an aura of mystery and foreboding. What is the real truth about this voyage? The real truth is that as we go within and discard one illusion after another, one falsehood after another, one negative program after another, it gets lighter and lighter. The awareness of the presence of love becomes stronger and stronger. We will feel lighter and lighter. Life becomes progressively more effortless.
absolutely. When we are able to remove the guilt and fears and the unnecessary problems or a burden, mental burden we call it, then our journey start to face real truth. And when we start to face real and know the truth, slowly and gradually one illusion will disappear, then other illusion will disappear, and then one negative feelings or other one negative thought or other curtain will go and other curtain will go. And when everything will go, then you will feel lighter and lighter and lighter. Um, and that's how you are replaced with source of love. And that's happened with so many great people, that they why they are source of love. When when negative people or people who are victim, when they go and sit in their company, they actually give take this immense love from them and start to clear the clouds of fear, anxiety, guilties from their life, and replace it with love. And these peoples are everywhere. They could be your coach, mentor, spiritual gurus, religious uh, people, or trainers or authors. I personally, I have so many peoples where when I read or I watch them or I see their pictures, I feel really spiritually strong, and think that I'm now aware about what I should be aware. And then I start to feeling uh, of power of now, that I am enjoying the current moment. I don't live in my past, or I don't go into the future, which both are unpredictable and unknown. So that's real truth. That journey or voyage give me a really enjoyable things. Yeah, please continue reading.
Every great teacher since the beginning of time has said to look within and find the truth, for the truth of what we really are will set you free. If what is to be found within ourselves were something to feel guilty about, something that is rotten, evil, and negative, then all the world's great teachers would not advise us to look there. On the contrary, they would tell us to avoid it at all costs. We will discover that all of the things the world calls evil are right on the surface. They are right on the top as the superficial outer thin layer. Beneath these errors, beneath these errors is mistake mistakenness. We are not rotten, only ignorant.
Yeah. So I mean, these all evil which we call our coal, they all are on the surface level. And like Jenny has explained already very well, that we don't need to allow any other to give us the sense of low self-worth or something. So therefore, um, just we need to admit that we were ignorant, or we are ignorant, or rather than we have a low self-esteem, or we are the really guilty people. That's it's already explained very well. um, yeah, continue reading, please.
As the quality, as the quantity of guilty fear and the energy of accompanying it are relinquished, we will notice that physical diseases and symptoms begin to disappear. The capacity to love ourselves in the form of increased self-esteem returns, and it comes the capacity to love others. Being freed from guilt brings about a renewal of life energy. This can be dramatically witnessed in many people who are converted through religious experience. The sudden freedom from guilt through the mechanism of forgiveness is responsible for thousands of recoveries from serious and advanced diseases. Whether or not we agree with their religious concept is immaterial. What is important to notice is that the alleviation of guilt is accompanied by a resurgence of life energy well being, and physical health. When it comes to healing ourselves and increasing our own emotional health, it pays to be paranoid. We become aware of the we become aware of all the guilt mongers in our life and deleterious influences.
Thank you. Yeah. So there is a great one point which I would like to highlight. When in our world, when they change their totally paradigm of reality, by, for example, if they were not religious, or they start to join or embrace any religion, if they start to join, let's say, Islam, or become Christian, or they join Buddhist circle, or any other spiritual thing, or become Hindu or something, then have you seen their cry? Have you have you watched them, what they are feeling, or how immense they are joy? Because based on their experience, their previous life was a guilt, because they could not found the ultimate reality what they have found, and now their life is so with immense happiness. And that's why a spiritual new experience always gives you the renewal of your soul, and will wipe all any guilty thoughts or things which you had before. And this is one of the thing, and it impacts on your physical health. And you used to have maybe high blood pressure, or some other physical sign which start to remove automatically once you change your the water which you were living before. So that's is a beautiful thing. Yeah, if Zara, if you can read it next.
Yeah.
Uh, okay.
Guilt, understanding truly, we can ask ourselves, could we not achieve the same motivation or behavior out of love rather than out of fear and guilt? Is guilt the only reason we don't stab our neighbor? Why couldn't it be that we would refuse to stab our neighbor because we love and care for him as a fellow human being who is intrinsically innocent and who is struggling to grow, but may make mistakes along the way just as we ourselves have done? Would not following religious teachings, whatever they are, be more effective if done out of love and appreciation rather than out of guilt and fear? Now, this point is very good.
Yeah.
We can ask ourselves, what do we really need guilt for anyway? What possible service do we get out of it? Are we so miserably stupid that we behave only out of guilt? Are we so unconscious? Cannot consideration for feeling of others replace guilt as a motivation for appropriate human behavior? Even this is very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great teaching from David. So I mean, is guilt the only reason we don't stab our neighbor, or we don't do something wrong with the other? Uh, that's how we avoid the sins or crime in our life, isn't it? Because tomorrow we should not feel guilty. I should not say her or him bad words, because tomorrow I will feel guilty why I did say to her. That's the only reason. You don't have other motivation not to do these things. So what he is trying to say, why the guilty is a criteria not to do any certain things in your life, or doing certain action or thinking in certain pattern. So it's a great learning from them. Yeah, please continue.
As we examine these issues and look at their social origins, we see that Middle Ages are far from over. The Inquisition has merely taken on newer and subtler forms of cruelty. We have unwittingly bought into a system of negativity that is currently running the planet. To make wrong and to make guilty is really a form of cruelty, is it not? We have allowed others to program us with methods of self torture, and we can see that we have retaliated by inviting others to torture themselves in return. We have allowed ourselves to be manipulated by guilt, and we turn it around and use the same mechanism of guilt to try to exploit and control others. Yeah, it's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great learning and great reading as well. Absolutely. Uh, yeah, Jenny, if you can continue.
Okay. The degree to which we have not allowed ourselves to experience the reality of our true self is represented by our resentment towards those who have actually done so. We resent their aliveness in the areas in which we feel disabled. The sobering truth is represented by the story of a man who walks along the beach and comes upon a fisherman with a pail full of crabs. He says to the fisherman, "You'd better put a cover on that pail or the crabs will get out." "Well, no," said the wise old fisherman, "there is no need for that. You see, as one crab crawls up the side of the pail to get out, the other crabs reach up and grab him and pull him back down. So there's no need for a cover."
Actually, it looks funny, but it's a reality. Um, our society actually is like this. All societies and culture. When we take some initiative, we start to have a response like we were crap, and they want to pull our legs to come back to in the same place where we wanted to come out. Um, because and that's the irony of our world, that when we decide or we think that we should do some great initiative on our life, then um, we are not have uh, environment or support, and we the reactive people always look support. Okay, I will be fine when my partner will be doing this or will support me, or my parents will be support me, then I will be doing, or I will be doing, then this will happen. And we will connect our next step to lot of um, aspect of our life, and then we never do. We never do, because we lose our present moment. When I could take step, then I put on and connect it with certain aspect of our life, and then that's why I will have a very poor and a very demotivated thing which I never accomplish. And because your future will never come. For example, if you want to uh, work on your health, and you think I will work on my health when this will happen, and you are putting a conditions on your life, you will not. You're looking for some support from someone which will you will never get. And that's why you need to be proactive. The habit number one, that you have a power of change your life right now with power of now. And that's thing. And is the last paragraph for the day, and I appreciate your all patience. So if you can read it for me. And
As we keep letting go, getting lighter, and becoming freer, we will unfortunately see that the nature of the world is like that pail of crabs. And then the full extent of its negativity becomes apparent. When we become totally aware of the bill of goods that we have been sold, it is very likely that we will feel anger and a strong desire to become liberated from the constraints of negativity.
thank you so much. Thank you. So that's it. I appreciate this session is almost about I think over 100 minutes now. I really appreciate. I hope my audience and viewers of this video, they have learned something great, and they must apply it directly. Remember, if you are trying to implement you learned from today in future, this future will never come. Trust me, never come. if you want to apply the things which you learn today, you must apply it right now, in next few hours, in next few minutes, not in any future, because that future will not go. Your mind will take you back in your past, or in some putting some conditions further, and you will get more demotivated. So take the action, and take the action right now. And because you are living in the present moment right now, and you change the discourse of your life, you need to take action right now, because only the next moment is the moment where you can change your life. Not going in the past, not landing in the future, only now. So that's why you need to get rid of the whims, fears, victimized thinking, hopelessness, and take the power um, from yourself. So, thank you very much for joining the session today. If you have any questions still, we can discuss, or I will try to answer it. And the next week, I will come with the new topic, the second section of human behavior, which we are discussing. The fear and anxiety related, all things are finished. I will change the new human behavior, important human behavior, and we will try to read. I know it has long more due to your busy schedule. It's not possible sometime to give 2 hours a session. It should be with the 1 hour, or maybe 30 minutes. We will make two section, one section dedicated for habits, and other 30 minutes for human behavior. So if you have any question, please let me know. Let me check my Facebook if I have any question from there or no. Yeah, I think we don't have. Thank you so much, Cynthia, Jenny, Zara, and all other audience on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much, and I will see you next Sunday with a different topic, and with the same topic of why 7 habit, with the next 5 reasons why 7 habits are relevant in our life. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Thank
Sandy.
you.
Meredith.
Thanks to you
Great
for your
class.
time. Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye bye.